Our problem is just this. How come Meru has disappeared from the national map of Kenya? How come Meru has disappeared from the political map of Kenya? We are number 5, actually number 4, in providing the multitude of votes for any government. Our people are not happy. They are saying even if no minister was appointed, even an ambassador, how come even no ambassador has been appointed in this group? We are saying the Meru people are tired from being taken for granted. Meru people do not want to be political nomads anymore. Meru people want to be treated equally with other people, with the other ethnic blocks, because we have a right to be in this country just like the Kikuyus have a right. We have a right to be in this country just like the Luos have a right, and we have a right to be in this country just like Kalenjins, have also a right to be there. So we are not asking to be favored more than the others, but what we are against is being discriminated against. We have all voted correctly. Our people are actually surprised that President Ruto seems to have forgotten them so quickly. So, I reminded about the old story, which we have always complained about the cat and dog politics in Meru. When you want to hunt, you look for a dog, get into the forest with it, you kill an animal together, but once the animal is killed, the dog is chased away. And even after the meat has been served and eaten by others, the dog is chased away with the bones, and the soft meat is given to a cat, which has not been hunting. So the Meru people are asking for their right. We are tired of this politics. In the last regime, we are complaining about Mambo roads. Merus and Maumau's, they never got any roads here. There are no Mambo roads. This time round, they were trying to correct that, but we find ourselves in the same ditch. That it's like our car is parked by the roadside, and then we see other cars just passing by the road. We have said time has come for Meru to walk in the middle of the road. Time has come for Meru to be in the map like other communities in the country. Time has come for us to chart our own destiny as a community. We are giving President Ruto some benefit of doubt. We want to look at this situation. We want to analyze the underlying causes. We want to see the threads through Christmas and New Year. Next year, we are going to have a mega meeting of all the Meru leaders, of all from the church, from politics, from farmers, from teachers, and we ask ourselves, what is the curse of Meru? And then we address that curse. And it's very simple to say, the final decision, the final political decision of Meru people will be made after all these holidays next year.
And politics. Now, Owidi, this week has been very heavy. For some reason, the president keeps on reshuffling his cabinet. What's going on?
I don't think he keeps on.
I mean, you remember during President Kenyattas' time, there was hardly any reshuffle. But for President Ruto, within 2 years, he's done multiple reshuffles. Does it mean that he has a challenge attracting, retaining, and rewarding top capacity for his administration?
I think there is one instant and one moment and one thing that triggered all this you are seeing today. Some people had gone to ensure that there is a bit of instability in the cabinet, and that led to what was called the dissolution of the first William Ruto cabinet, and then the reappointment. But you remember, after the reappointment, there were about 2 seats, CS positions that remained unfulfilled. Whenever you want to fulfill a position, there has to be some rearrangement, because you get a good person in one docket, he may not necessarily be good in the one that is vacant. So a few people have to be moved left, right, and center so that we have the correct people in the place. But also, you must remember that the kind of politics we have today is well far from what we began with. We began with, after the marriage that took place at Kasarani, believing that we are going to run a smooth government, but little did the president know that some people next to him were going to plan and ensure that there is a bit of instability in the government. And when that happened, the president took the bold step to dissolve the cabinet. And after dissolving the cabinet, a few positions were left untaken, and finally they were taken recently. And I hope you saw what happened. Maybe you also noticed what I noticed.
Now, when the president is attracting, retaining, and rewarding top talent to join his cabinet, one would expect that he'll get people with very solid political capital. But here comes Dr. Andrew Karanja, who was served in the cabinet. But if Dr. Karanja goes to any mall today, nobody will pick him from the crowd. Here comes Dr. Margaret Nyambura, who was served as a cabinet secretary. Nobody will pick Dr. Margaret Nyambura from a crowd. Here comes Dr. Deborah Baraza, who has challenges talking about healthcare reforms. Why would you have 3 cabinet secretaries in your cabinet who do not understand your docket, who cannot talk about Kenya administration priority policies? What was the president thinking of when he gave them roles?
I think we must also realize that the cabinet secretaries are not necessarily supposed to be politicians or famous politicians, as we had agreed in the new constitutions. You remember there was a time when...
So wait a minute, are you suggesting that it's only a politician who can speak? It's only a politician who can address an audience? It's only a politician who can understand the issues?
I had famous there so that I can decipher your statement of when he goes into a mall, nobody knows. You remember one day the Ruto first government popped up with Matiang'i and a few others who are little known in this country. But when they pulled out, they did a splendid job, majority of them, that initial government. Many of those people, we did not know them. Since the new constitution, when we don't appoint the cabinet from parliament. So it is possible that somebody somewhere has recommended them to the president. You also must know that the president is not capable of knowing every qualified Kenyan who can be in cabinet. He has to rely on a few people beside him. But also remember, when the cabinet post the Gen Z uprising was appointed, there was a lot of hurry in cobbling up a cabinet that would move forward the country, because there was a bit of a shake-up. But nevertheless, I think what the president is doing today is now cleaning it, making it better, making it what he believes in, because he has also realized something that he did not begin the journey with, that he must have a broad-based government. Even though the word broad-based have been used for a long time, but it has gone into people's heads that it was just a government including the original winners and maybe now the ODM. But broad-based actually means the whole country. And that is what you saw happened the day before yesterday.
Now, in the new administration, do you see the face of former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Right Honorable Raila Odinga?
Kenya is a country that is largely controlled by regional kingpins. And I think when we say regional kingpins, we are just trying to be polite. We don't want to use, but honestly, it is tribal kingpins. When you want unity in the country, you can't ignore the tribal kingpins, especially when they choose to be noisy. You must listen to them, because their people will listen to them even when they are wrong. So the best way to give the people what they want is to listen to their so-called kingpins and do what their so-called kingpin. That is when you are doing what the people really want. So when you saw what happened recently, the number of people who got into government were largely from the mountain, to be precise, Mount Kenya West. I don't know whether that covers up to Rift Valley where we got the other CS and so on. But it was largely covering the Kikuyu community. And that is a question that it is not the president who must answer. It is also the kingpin who must also answer.
Now, what is the one assignment that takes Mutahi Kagwe, William Kabogo, and Lee Kinyanjui to the cabinet?
One assignment. I have just told...
Of course, there is the assignment in the public space, but what is the assignment?
I have just told you a few minutes ago that in this country, it is a country that is largely controlled by regional, to be precise, tribal kingpins. So you are not going to listen to these communities individually. You are not going to manage it. So you are going to listen to their kingpins. You are going to listen to their demigods. And when you do, they will tell you who they think the people want. Even when it is clear, it is them who wants those people. Those people you have mentioned must have been presented by the central kingpin, former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And most likely, the president only needed to confirm that they are appointable, not really their utmost suitability. And he did it. So anybody who has a problem with those people needs to talk to the kingpin.
So, Owidi, are you suggesting that 60 years after independence, 2010 solid constitution, Kenya is still held hostage by kingpins?
It is, of course, and there's nothing we can do about it.
So these kingpins are stronger than institutions?
Not the institutions. They are stronger than the people.
System.
If you want the people, have the people through their kingpins. You've seen the political alliances that we have had in Kenya. Legally, we masquerade that we are having political alliances between political formations, political parties. But in actual sense, those political parties, within them, the kingpin is above the political parties in their organograms. For example, you go to ODM. You can talk to ODM, and I can talk to Raila. I will have an upper hand if I talk to Raila than if you talk to ODM. So the kingpins are above those political formations. And those political formations are largely regional. In fact, many of them are community-based. So you are better off forming alliances by these kingpins, pretending that you are dealing with the leaders of political formation, pretending. But the truth of the matter is you are trying to appease the people through their kingpins.
So in the interest of clarity, you are suggesting that the kingpins are more powerful than the people. And the Kenyan Constitution, the first article, chapter 1, as you open the Constitution, the first content you encounter with it is with the people.
That is the absurdity that we have to contend with. It is the people who have granted these kingpins so much power. And many of them are too illiterate to realize that they have taken their power to elect, their power to decide, and handed over to kingpins.
You know, Kenyans have taken offense with this statement that you've indicated that on average, majority of Kenyans have got, I don't know whether to call it capacity challenges around the election.
I am telling you, and even if they want to take offense, they better take it. But the truth of the matter, majority of Kenyans are incapable of even looking at a leader, studying his past record and saying this is a good man and this is not a good man. As long as he appeals to tribal feelings, they will go with him. And you can see the former DP is really struggling to do that. He's the only one who is left these days to politic in churches and politic in mother tongue. He goes to Naivasha and speaks largely in mother tongue there, politicking. The same thing the churches have told us we can no longer do. So, and what he's trying to do, he's trying to whip tribal and regional emotions so that he becomes a kingpin. The rest of the kingpins are in place, but he's struggling to wrestle the kingpinship from President Uhuru Kenyatta.
So now you said there are the people who have joined, the honorable people who have joined the cabinet. They have got their matching orders. Their job description is very clear. That first of all, they must have the interest of the kingpins. Second, the interest of the kingpins. Third, the interests of the kingpins. Then Mora, Nyambura, and Wafula are nowhere in the matrix.
It is Mora, Wafula, Nyambura, Odoyo, and the rest who have handed over their
How do you
rights,
reverse that?
their rights, their powers, their privileges to these regional kingpins, because these regional kingpins have whipped enough tribal emotions that you think if you oppose them, you are actually opposing your community. You are actually weakening your community in such a way that the other communities may override it. So this is the problem. And they are really relying on the ignorance of the largely uninformed society, the largely uneducated society. That is what they are doing. In fact, when you are saying that people have taken offense, the people who have taken offense are the small percentage who are educated. But these ones, they will not even understand what I'm saying to even to take offense.
For instance, the legislature, the National Assembly and Senate impeached Honorable Rigathi Gachagua.
Correct.
But now when he goes to church on Sunday, he says the community has been impeached. And then he says the community will never forget. And he says the community is going to take a decision. So when will members of that community understand that this impeachment has got nothing to do with the community, but it's around the individual?
They will not understand because you remember the gospel is spread by word of mouth. The gospel. His gospel of kingpinship in his community, he is spreading by word of mouth whenever his community are gathered. You will never see him in those churches outside his community. He will be in Naivasha, he will be in Madeira, he will be in Embu, he will be in Nyeri, because he's struggling to win over kingship. And let me tell you, if he manages to win the kingship of, say, the Kikuyu community is a 7 million strong community in this country. It could even be slightly more. That is higher than the population of Denmark. And if they give him the power that the Luo gave Raila Odinga, he will be a de facto president of that small community called the Kikuyu community. He will even be able to collect taxes from them indirectly and use the way he wants. He will even be able to decide who gets appointed and who doesn't. He will even be able to decide who gets elected and who doesn't. He would even be able to decide who gets excommunicated from the community and who doesn't. He will become a king and his own. And yet, whatever he will get by being the president of that small community, he will not be able to account for them. He will not be expected to account for them. He will not be expected to do anything for the community with them. He will just be the pride of the community.
What choices do community members have?
They have a choice to use their powers, privileges on their own, or to hand it over to their kingpins. But because they are unable to outwit the kingpin, to put the kingpin on a table and tell him, why are we doing this? Why must we? They are unable to see through the trickery of this kingpin. They are unable.
Now, talking about
the few who are able can always be stepped on. For example, myself, I have been stepped on since 2005 because I am able to see the trickery. But if you are not able...
What has been stepping on you?
The kingpins.
They don't have names at this stage.
We don't need to bother naming names sometimes.
Okay, now talking about kingpins, Kiraitu Murungi says his community has been disadvantaged. He's a kingpin. Is he also playing the same games?
The last time I sat here and laughed like that, I was laughing at Kalonzo Musyoka. Today you have brought another one called Kiraitu Murungi. First of all, if Kiraitu were really a Meru kingpin, the way he was purporting yesterday in his statement, I can't understand why the little-known Kawira Mwangaza, the wife of I think a musician or whatever, whoever he is, would overthrow a sitting kingpin from his throne.
Maybe,
and then you see Kiraitu
maybe Kawira had more lies.
Had more?
More lies.
No.
Her name is Kawira Mwangaza. so she had more lies.
and Kiraitu Murungi's problem is not what he was talking about. It is not the Meru interest. Kawira Mwangaza's problem is why
Kawira
sorry. Kiraitu Murungi's problem is why Kawira Mwangaza is still in office. And he said Kiraitu Murungi believes Kawira Mwangaza is in office because the state allows her to be there, because the courts allows her to be there, because the courts have been influenced by the executive to allow her to be there. So what Kiraitu Murungi was doing was trying to blackmail the president to ensure that Kawira Mwangaza goes home. I wonder where he was when Kawira Mwangaza was winning the governorship of Meru. Kiraitu Murungi is very interesting. Very, very interesting. He admits that in the last government, there was only one Meru in this CS. Before this noise is making yesterday, there was also only Mithika Linturi in the government. He never made any noise. Today, we have two Merus sitting in cabinet. We have the DP himself, Kithure Kindiki. And we also have my own minister, the Minister for Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, Engineer Eric Muga from Meru. He wants to pretend that is not a Meru. I think Kiraitu Murungi needs to tell us very many things. Today, as we sit here, there are only two Kalenjins in the cabinet, Chirchir and Murkomen. And they are not making noise. And Kiraitu can't tell me that Merus voted more than the Kalenjin for President William Ruto. We need to be honest. Kiraitu Murungi is being very, very dishonest. This is the same man who, when he was Minister for Constitutional Affairs, wanted to employ his bosom friend, his colleague and brother, his clansman, Aaron Ringera. He tailored the job to fit only Ringera. And he gave him the job. And he's here talking about people being tribal. He's talking about people being nepotistic. He is not. He is being dishonest with us. Today, as we are speaking, there are 3 PSS who are Meru. And there are about 9 CEOs who are Meru, including the one for Kura, the one for Kevavapi, and many others. And he's just doing what I have just told you. The Kingpins lie to the larger community, to their people. And their people have no way of verifying their statements. They take those statements and believe them as they are. You remember there was a time I was complaining here that there was a list that had been manufactured going round that the Kalenjin dominate government. But I asked them, before you say they really dominate government, make a list of the other communities and present before us. When one was presented, the one from the DP's community then was double the one from the president's community. So these so-called kingpins and king, they want to confuse the people. They know the word is spread by gospel, whether it is false gospel or true gospel, they use that gospel to spread the word.
Don't you fear that the statements you made, some of them are very heavy and loaded, that Kiraitu Murungi, being a lawyer, may sue you?
I would like to face Kiraitu Murungi in court if I have lied about anything. What I am saying is the truth, and I have facts, figures, and logic with it. And that is the opinion I hold here and anywhere else.
And you're ready to turn to yourself?
I'm ready.
In any court in the land?
In any court in the land. In fact, I also heard Kiraitu in his statement. He also insinuated that he wants to hear what the courts will say before they meet as the Bureau. In fact, let me tell Kiraitu Murungi, at his age now, he should be fighting to be the chair of Njuri Cheke, not to move into government. I think his problem, he expected to be appointed to be a CS in government. This is the same man that President William Ruto collected after he had been defeated to make him the chair of National Oil Corporation. And he's serving this very government happily in that seat. And he's coming here to oppose this government, to criticize it. In fact, what the president should do Those people that Kiraitu Muringi are saying are Merus and have not been appointed to government, he should take that chair of National Oil Corporation and give one of them so that the Merus can see. He has refused to tell the Merus that the president has appointed him the chair of National Oil Corporation. He has refused because he wants bigger things. How do you want bigger things? And this is a man who has been in cabinet with Kibaki. He was in cabinet with Uhuru. He has been governor. He still wants to be in cabinet with Ruto. Yet, there are very many younger Merus. For example, the CS from Meru, Eric Muga, that is the person who can carry the future of the Meru people. That is the person who can carry the aspirations and hopes of the Meru people.
Are you sure?
Not a person who is 70 plus. Can you build your hope on a person who is 70 plus? Well, can you want to be controlled? If you want to be a livestock farmer, look for younger animals, heifers, small bulls, and then now you become a farmer. But you can't become a farmer with a bull whose time is a bull which cannot even pull a jembe. Ile jembe inaitwa nini kwa Kiingereza?
I don't know the jembe you're talking about. But talking about the new nominees or the people who've been assigned, what do you make of Kipchumba Murkomen's new docket and his capacity to deliver?
I have looked at that cabinet. Nobody would have held that position better than Kipchumba Murkomen. That position needs a very eloquent person because it involves speaking to people from time to time. Security is not about carrying guns. It is about preventing crime. It is about preventing damage. It is about preventing destruction. So it needs somebody who is eloquent, somebody who is charismatic, somebody who is a go-getter, and somebody who is brilliant. And I don't think there is anybody in that cabinet who could have held that position other than Kipchumba Murkomen. Listen to the guy talk. He talks like a person who is in charge. He's eloquent. Of course, he's brilliant. To add it on to him, he's also a lawyer. Tell me who else could have held that position any better. And considering that his PS is a person of few words, but spot on words, I think if there is any ministry that is going to perform and deliver, it is Interior. They are definitely going to deliver. And also, you take note that it consists of people who are relatively young compared to the Kiraitus.
Why are you using Kiraitu as a reference
because
point?
It is only Kiraitu, the past person I have had to oppose the new look cabinet. Nobody else. And when you look at him from his statements, it is very clear from his body language that he would have wished to be in that cabinet. His age mates like Ringera are not in this cabinet. No. Even Raila Odinga didn't want to be in the cabinet. He just brought his people. Even Uhuru Kenyatta didn't want to be in cabinet. He just brought his people. Even Kalonzo doesn't want to be in cabinet. Why is Kiraitu wanting to be in cabinet?
He's got unfinished business.
Okay. We gave him the chance to finish it in Meru. He let one little known Kawira Mwangasa throw him out in the streets, and now he's come back. He wants the state to help him fight. He has lost that fight, and he has to wait until the next general election to fight again for that governorship. There was a governor from Western who lost and went back and won again. You know
Ken Lusaka.
Ken Lusaka.
Now, you've just indicated that Gachagua is positioning himself as a kingpin.
Yes.
And if he goes on with this, with his strategy, there's a very high probability that he may actually have he may become the kingpin. Here comes a question. There's Mutahi Kagwe, there's William Kabogo, and there's Lee Kinyanjui. Do you think the three have got capacity to face him head-on and neutralize his political ambitions?
One person that I know can really take on him head-on is Kabogo. These other guys, I have seen them, I know them, but I don't know them as well as I know Kabogo. Kabogo is no pushover.
He's a bulldog.
Kabogo can take on anyone in Central. If he chooses to take on Rigathi, it will be a battle of the titans. So just let's wait and see how they take it going forward, because they are yet to be sworn in, they are yet to be taken through the due process to be cabinet secretary, other than those who are already in the cabinet before. But Kabogo is a serious politician. If it were not the kingpinship, or even that guy who removed him from the Kiambu governorship would have not done it. But because the people hands over their power, privileges to the kingpins, that is how Kabogo lost. But I think his return to serious political position is something to celebrate for him and his family, and probably us who know him well. Now,
Owidi, everybody knows that you've got intimate knowledge of politicians in Kenya, about the personalities in the political space and the policies. And as you're coming towards the end of the year, we want to start giving a few, we want to give them bouquets, and others we want to give them barbs. So in your list, let's start with the bouquets. What are these policies that deserve a pat on the back? And who are these either principal secretaries, cabinet secretaries, or just public servants of rank that deserve a bouquet as they go for Christmas? You must speak without fear nor favor.
My first barb goes to the Catholic bishops. And it is not something I'm thinking about now. You've known my position with them all along. I once told you how any service they give you as the people of God, things that Jesus used to give for free, you're charged. Jesus also said, forgive everyone, and you should be forgiven 70 times. In the Catholic Church, if you cease to be going to that church, even if you go to no other, the day you die, they reject you on your deathbed. These are the people who have welcomed every politician, every president, except President William Ruto. The things they have said about Ruto, the things they have done to President William Ruto is unacceptable. The Catholic bishops needs to go sit together and come and give President William Ruto an apology. Because the things they have accused President William Ruto of were done by past presidents, and they never complained.
But before you make the other statement, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops has got a moral obligation, has got a responsibility, whether it's a constitutional responsibility, whether it's from the canon, whether it flows from the Bible. They've got a responsibility to offer advice to politicians in Kenya, and they've got a responsibility to call out politicians. Now, they issued a statement which made President Ruto unhappy. They issued a statement which made you unhappy. And then all of a sudden, instead of looking at the content of the statements, you've done what most politicians do. You start digressing and you say that if you haven't attended service for a while, then they're going to ask you for a fee for a funeral. But you've not addressed the issues they raised. That the issue, we cannot allow, they said, politicians to use the church for political campaigns. And they said, if you want to do political rallies, please do it outside the church. Then they said, we don't want these donations. Come up with policies that you will execute to avoid politicians doing donations every day. What's wrong with that?
My brother, let me take you back to the Bible. It so happens that I am much more conversant with the Bible than many of those Catholic bishops. There was a man, if you go to the book of Chronicles, and I think it is chapter 29 or whatever it is, First Chronicles. There was a man called King David. King David collected a lot of resources to build for God a church. And it is written in the Bible that gold alone was 200,000 kilograms. Gold alone was 200 tons. 200 tons at the current rate of gold to the Kenya shillings is about 1.1 trillion that King David collected. The Catholic bishops are not going to tell me that they interpreted that that was King David's own money. That money must have come from the people, because the Bible also says, give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. It did not say, give unto the Roman government what belongs to the Roman government. They pinpointed Caesar, not the government. So when you are the president of a Republic of Kenya, there are many resources which will come your way by your position as the president of the Republic. Now look at 1.1 trillion. And then the head of the church then was Nathan. Nathan encouraged King David to give such resources so that his son Solomon would later build the church. Those resources came from the people. In fact, my advice to the Catholic Church, if they think there were any resources that were not got through good means, that is in the hands of politicians, the best way to take it back to the people is to take it to church, to do the work of God, to spread the gospel, and to make people who he thinks were sinners become less of sinners.
By the Kevin, I know Kevin is your confirmation name. Have you ever wondered why, and this is an observation both in the legacy and digital media, that we have many more churches being put up in Kenya than schools, many more churches than factories, many more churches than shopping centers? Is that contradiction?
Oh, yeah.
The politicians like you have got an insatiable appetite to construct churches, but not factories, not business centers.
No.
For instance, if you go around the Lake Victoria has got to understand some of the best fish in the world.
Yes.
Fish which can be consumed in the European Union, in UK, in USA. Very solid fish. Have you ever wondered how come the fish from Lake Victoria is not processed? That we don't have state-of-the-art fish factories around Lake Victoria?
Well, first of all, let's say this. Politicians are not the best people at managing institutions. Worst of all, businesses. If you already have a business and you call them to come and help you donate funds, they will. And they'll make very beautiful speeches. But you cannot donate funds to nowhere and expect the funds to convert into a fish factory. Also, investing in fish factories, the politicians only need to create a conducive environment for such. But it is the work of business people to invest in such. I would have expected, especially now that some politicians were converted into governors for counties. And I have seen when they try to bring what they call investment conference, they just turn out to be shows. They are show-offs. But as soon as the ceremony is over, you see nobody coming to invest anything. To give investors an opportunity to invest, you must come up with very clear incentives. Besides clear incentives, you have to do your research and pinpoint the possible investments those investors will be introduced to and the incentives they will get when they invest. But when you look at the adverts for those investments, take for example in my county, Homa Bay, when there is an investment conference coming, you will see billboards are up all over the county. The largest item on that billboard is the governor wearing a lipstick and her name down, and the investment conference. On that billboard is not listed the incentives. On that billboard is not listed the possible investment areas. It is an opportunity for the governor to advertise himself or herself for the next general election. And you see, such an analysis is impossible. It cannot be done by ordinary citizens. They don't have that capacity. It takes just a few of us who are able to see what is going on. Today, you ride in these counties, Sonko had introduced something called putting billboards in projects. And on the billboard, one side the governor and one side the MC of the area. When you go to my county, there are certain some of those billboards and signposts who are in roads on which grass is growing.
Is that not a waste of taxpayers' resources?
It is a waste of taxpayers' resources.
When are we going to put a stop to it?
It is very difficult to put a stop to it because the people have been captured by rhetoric, by lies. And these governors have hired a few people that they put on speed to sell them, to sell their lies as policies that are working. When you go to some of those counties, you will not find any project worth 100 million done by any of those governors, even if we take in the last 5 years, let alone the 2 years since the last election. You will not find. There is no project that you say, this is a project worth 100 million that has been done by the governor. Nothing. No. If there is anything that they spend money on to the tune of 100 million, it is a launch of something that will never take off. It is a ceremony where people arrive in choppers, dance to the evening and spread out and go, leaving the people as poor as they found them.
A member of the audience thinks that you're an ODM party member, and has said that ODM has no capacity to criticize Mr. Kiraitu Murungi. They should be telling Mr. Raila Odinga to retire from politics.
First of all, let us be very clear. There is no day Raila Odinga has come out to talk about tribes. Even the brazen Rigathi Gachagua has never called Kikuyu by name. He hides behind watu wa Murima, watu wa region. It is only Kiraitu Murungi who had the audacity to come and say the Meru people have been shortchanged. Nothing can be more tribal than the statement made by Kiraitu Murungi. That is why I said Kiraitu Murungi today is only fit to be the leader of Njuri Cheke, because that is a tribal outfit that you can always mention by name.
And another member of the audience is asking that President Ruto, has he forgiven Gachagua?
I think you don't talk about forgiving anybody who has not even recognized his mistake. Gachagua has not even recognized his mistake. He has not even accepted what he did. And I think President William Ruto has not had a serious problem with Gachagua. He only accepted that you want to impeach Gachagua, impeach him, because what you are saying about him I can also see. But it is not President William Ruto who impeached Gachagua. It is the Parliament and the Senate.
Before we go to your second barb, give us your first bouquet.
Wow, my first bouquet is President William Ruto of choice of the Interior CS. I looked around and I saw who could go to Turkana, who could go to Kapedo and make a statement that make some of those vagabonds disappear into the forest. It is him.
So you're suggesting that Professor Kithure Kindiki had no capacity to make such statements?
Professor Kithure Kindiki did his best. But I think now he's on a seat that is best suited for him. In fact, Professor Kithure Kindiki should have been the DP from day one. Kenya would be very far today. We would have really gone very far. We would have not had all these things we have had. We just happened to, sometimes when you want to marry and you have very many friends and you want to choose the best man, it is possible that you can get the wrong best man. And sometimes the wrong best man will convince you that they are the best. And that is the problem that President William Ruto found himself in. His best man was the wrong one. He left the good best man. His marriage would have been very stable by now, but I think he's repairing it.
Your second barb?
Wow, my second barb. You remember Kalonzo Musyoka and Koki Muly?
Yes.
Way. Today, if there was no Kalonzo Musyoka and his Koki Muly, we will be having IEBC up and running. But like all kingpins, they lie to the people. They lie to the society. Kalonzo has made us believe that he was offended. He has made us believe that Koki Muly was offended. Yet, he is a person who claims to believe in democracy. And Koki Muly was defeated by Augustus Muly.
In a democratic process.
In fact, by a landslide, 14-7.
But the same regulations during the political parties liaison committee and the requirements indicated that you will have 3 representatives. One from a majority parliamentary party, minority parliamentary party, and then non-parliamentary party. So non-parliamentary party already has got a member, according to the regulations. Therefore, Professor Augustus Muly, while he comes from the minority group, but it does not represent a parliamentary political party. So where is the contradiction?
The parliamentary political party is Azimio. Augustus Muly is in Azimio. So the Azimio people sat. You know, this thing is not elected by individuals.
But
they are elected by political parties in Azimio.
Yeah, but Muly is a political party, because I understand he's a political party leader. His political party is not parliamentary.
Muly is not a political party leader. The political party leader of that party called NLP is actually not Muly. So Muly was only proposed by that party to represent Azimio, just like Wiper proposed Koki Muly to represent Azimio. So it is now Kalonzo who is trying to convert Augustus Muly into a candidate of whatever party that proposed him. He's a candidate of Azimio. And the Azimio people were voting. And the Azimio people, the very ones Kalonzo seemed to be part of, gave his Koki Muly 7 votes. And then gave Augustus Muly 14. Most likely, even his wiper may have voted for Augustus Muly. And here he's making noise for us. So, if he's going to say that Augustus Muly is wrong, then the whole of Azimio is wrong. Because majority of Azimio voted, it's only Azimio who was voting for the candidate they want.
Yes.
And they voted they voted down Kalonzo's Koki Muly.
So how should we make progress on this matter? Because
making progress is only one person, Kalonzo, withdrawing the case from court, accepting that his Koki Muly was defeated. Alternatively, the judiciary telling us tomorrow that we have brought the hearing of the case forward, we are going to hear it and we are going to determine the case so that we proceed.
Now, your second bouquet?
My second bouquet, as I told you, went to, I think I said it went to the president for appointing the right.
That was the first one.
The right candidate. And my second barb had gone to
Kalonzo.
To Kalonzo. Let me go to the second barb before I come to the bouquet, because
third.
I have a few people, but
it appears that you have more barbs than bouquets.
I have more barbs than bouquets because it is good people are more than bad people. So these bad ones, we must call them out. We must call them out. So the next one, and my final barb goes to Kiraitu Murungi.
He's receiving many of them. Eh?
Kiraitu Murungi comes to tell us that the president has appointed too many Kikuyus. Yet Kiraitu Murungi is a very intelligent man. Actually, during his privileges, was the best student.
And son is about trained.
Yes, he's a very intelligent man. But he is here trying to tell us that he doesn't know that whoever was appointed was presented by the Kikuyu Kingpin Uhuru Kenyatta. It has nothing to do with President William Ruto. He is only using it to blackmail President William Ruto because he believes President William Ruto should implore on the judiciary to send Kawaira Mwangaza home. This very judiciary has even put the president on receiving end. They have stopped so many things that the president would have wanted to go forward. Yet Kiraitu Murungi believes the president can override the judiciary. The president has always been obeying the judiciary. If Kiraitu Murungi doesn't want to obey the judiciary, let him do it himself. But the president will go with court orders as they are put. He believes that it is the president who is keeping Kawira Mwangaza in office. It is not the president. For now, it is the courts. But the people who put her in office are the voters of Meru. There is nobody who came from the president's Sugoi to vote in Meru. There is nobody who came from my Homa Bay County to vote in Meru. It is those Merus that Kiraitu Murungi pretends is the kingpin that voted him out. And why he was voted out? Even when Kiraitu Murungi was in office, he concentrated his appointments to his own villagers. That is why they said, okay, this is what you are doing. And he also ensured that many of those politicians whom he did not agree with were brought down because he wanted to remain the king of Meru. He has lost it, and it is too late to capture it. And he must also know that I have recommended him to be the leader of Njurini Cheke.
Why can't you do a formal letter
to him.
Yeah, so that
he will listen to this. This he can't miss to listen. He goes to Njuricheke and he can be advising the Meru what type of leader. In fact, if he went there earlier, it would have been very easy to advise the Meru people that don't elect Kawira Mwangaza, elect somebody else. Unfortunately, he was also a candidate. How can a kingpin be defeated? It is like saying that somewhere in Siaya, Mrs. Ombaka defeated Raila Odinga to the governorship. That is what you are trying to say, which is not possible. So Kiraitu is lying to us. So he receives those barbs from me, sharp and lethal.
Now, during President Kenyatta's administration, it appears that not a lot of premium was placed on our foreign policy. But from the time President Ruto has taken office, he's been very proactive. President Ruto. He has hosted a number of presidents. He's done so many visits. And all of them, the single intention is catalyzing and promoting Kenyan exports, position Kenya as an FDI destination, and obviously creating international opportunities for Kenya, abroad. Because there are so many, when you look at the Kenyan talent, especially in the healthcare, nurses, understanding in countries like New Zealand, Australia, UK, the Kenyan talent sells like hot cake. What do you make of Musalia Mudavadi's stewardship of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Before I do that, let me finish off this bouquets thing.
Okay.
Yes, because the next bouquet goes to whoever appointed the current finance minister. I have been in this country as an adult for over 30 years. Actually, it's going to 40 years. And watching finance ministers. I have never seen a finance minister who would come to public and explain to people what is going on, what they are doing, why they are doing it, what they would do. In fact, the last one, you would not even know that the Kenya has a finance minister.
Professor Njuguna
Ndung'u. Yet in this country, it is only the finance minister who is an accounting officer. All the other CSS are not accounting officers, it's their PSS. So the choice of one John Mbadi was an excellent choice. I don't know how President came across it. Besides his ability to explain things, besides his wide understanding of matters finance, he's also an eloquent public speaker. So he makes work very easy for President William Ruto. You realize in many of these dockets, President William Ruto sometimes has to go to the public himself to explain policies, to explain new projects, to explain himself. But one John Mbadi would explain all these things, not only on behalf of his ministry, but also on behalf of the country and on behalf of the president. That deserves a bouquet. So now let's go to your issue, how one Musalia Mudavadi is handling the foreign docket. Again, that couldn't have been a better person in that docket. Because Mudavadi, since I ever knew him, when he was still working at a real estate firm, he's very diplomatic. I remember one time when as a very young man, I met him somewhere around Koinange Street lunchtime when he was having chips in a restaurant there. I have forgotten the name of the restaurant because it is almost 40 years ago. And there was an issue there that he came out very diplomatically to sort out until I was wondering, is this really the son of a minister? So he is a person who has become very diplomatic. And one thing I like about Mudavadi is his ability to come up with ideas that sell. I remember one time he came out with that name of the coalition called COD. Was it COD? NASA is the one who came up with him. He's a person with very brilliant ideas, very good explanations, and is very diplomatic. Where he learned his diplomacy, I don't know. But he's a very diplomatic man, very presentable, has an image that makes people believe a leader has walked in. That is Musalia Mudavadi for you. So I believe he's also in the right docket in foreign affairs.
And finally, Kenya is in a similar situation like the US, because in the US, the interest rates are going low, inflation is very low. The same situation obtains in Kenya. But when you speak to people, especially during this Christmas break, they're saying, hakuna pesa mfukoni. So where is the contradiction? If the economy is being managed very well, the indicators point in a good direction, interest rates are coming down, the inflation is coming down, the cost of unga is coming down. Barmora, Nafula, Nyambura, generally speaking, they say hakuna pesa mfukoni.
It depends on how people report their challenges in life. This is not the first time people don't have. There is no time the larger population will tell you we have money, we are meeting all our costs. No. It's only that in the past they have not been talking about it. But at this point in time, people have chosen to talk about it, partly because because of the improved communication system, and partly because of the improved freedom of the people, and lastly, because there are people who have made it upon themselves to ensure that the president is smeared with mud again and again. This is not the first time the citizens are having problems meeting their costs. But all the indicators are showing that the economy is doing well. Look at the inflation. The inflation has moved from 9.6 to 2.7. And do you know, even some people who talk about inflation have no idea what it really is. And if they are listening, let me tell them what it is. It is the rate at which the prices of goods are rising. It used to rise at 9.6%. Now it is rising at only 2.7%. So you can budget now and do your purchases in December at basically almost the same rate. You can use your money that you have been earning for the last 2 years to buy the same goods now. Isn't that a good thing for citizens to plan? Look at now...
But what if inflation is low and there's no disposable income?
But it would have been worse if there was no disposable income and inflation is also going up. So what the government can do something about, it is doing. And let me tell you, in this country, in another 2, 3, 4 years, Kenyans will be flooded with disposable income. Because
it'll be a torrent.
The problem we have been having is repayment of external debt. It's consuming most of the resources that we collect from the people. The other day I was asking somebody, you people, I met the Dr. Atela. You know Dr. Atela?
Yes. The
yes.
KMPDU.
Yes. And I was telling him, you people want money from the government, and you are promising us you are going to go into the streets. Why don't we take pen and paper? I know you did not study maths, you studied syringes. But why don't we take pen and paper? And let's say we collect clearly 2.5 trillion annually. We need 1.1 trillion to pay debts, external. We need 4 billion to give to the counties. We are left with 1 trillion. Education ministry alone requires 600 billion. What about health? What about interior? All this. So we want money to be added to us, but we don't want taxes to be collected. We don't want the government to spread its revenue collection. It is like a child who is crying they want food and they have already kicked that food. Let us be honest. What the president is doing is the right thing. If there is anybody criticizing what the president is doing, let them give us an alternative. You're saying the taxes are too high. Tell us how we are going to repay the external debt. Tell us if you have discovered some oil somewhere which we are going to get money from, or some gold in large quantities, because we must pay our debt. If your father borrows money from your neighbor and uses your land as security, it reaches a time that you may have to go hungry to repay the debt of your neighbor, in case he brings auctioneers to buy you and your home. What President William Ruto is trying to do is to ensure that we pay all the debt before Kenya is sold wholesale to people we owe.
Now, after the recent nominations to the cabinet and others were nominated to become ambassadors, high commissioners, Kenyans said, wait a minute, if you're a solid professional, you shouldn't join the administration. That this administration is clueless, is rudderless, and you shouldn't join the administration. But so far, nobody has declined the appointment.
Into the government. Kenyans are largely, especially politicians, are largely pretenders. The people who have criticized the government most, when they are given the opportunity to join the government, they join it raining. And as soon as they join, they forget about the things they have been accusing the government of. But also when you ask them, you think the government is wrong in doing this thing this way. Where is your better way of getting things done correctly? They even come, I saw the other day, some people were criticizing the president for his CS appointments. And they were not even suggesting that place where you are putting so-and-so, you should have put so-and-so because of ABC. They don't have. In fact, the other day I listened to a conversation which made me think. Kenyans have been made to believe that anybody who is in a political party that has not won the presidency must become opposition and criticize the government from the start to the end, whether the government is doing the right thing and the wrong thing. Because you hear somebody saying, I think Kalonzo has crossed over. Why is he talking well of the government? I think Raila Odinga is no longer the opposition leader. Why is he defending the government? When the government does the right thing, the government must be defended. The government must be commended for doing the right thing. You cannot criticize everything, including good ones. Sometimes the government is doing the right thing that ought to be done. Why are we criticizing? Because we are opposition. We are going to destroy this country. If losers of the elections will spend all the next 5 years pulling down the work of the winner, criticizing the winner. So we have to leave space. Even when you give somebody an exam. There was a time when I was in primary school. We would be given work on the board. And as we do, the teacher would walk around putting X or tick. That is a very bad way of doing things. You need to let the people finish exams. Then you go and say, okay, let's give you the marks now. This is what you have got. This is what you have lost. This is your total marks as a percentage. That is how to do things. But President William Ruto got into office. As soon as he was sworn in, as soon as his cabinet was in place, people were in the streets. What were they doing in the street? Trying to tell us that President William Ruto did not win. Now the courts, which is the master arbiter in every dispute, had said he won. So you, who is in the streets that he did not win, where did your judgment come from? And they start complaining about food, that the cost of living is high. Definitely the cost of living, there's no switch which you switch green, good cost of living, red, bad cost of living, that the president was going to use as soon as he gets into office. He had to put policies, projects that would improve the cost of living, like his fertilizer to farmers subsidized. Because we were in a situation where we were subsidizing consumption. But President William Ruto came with a new policy of subsidizing what is called production.
So as we come to the end of the show, what should Kenyans expect next year?
Kenyans must be ready for a good economy where everyone will afford what he wants. But the game changer will be Taifa Care. The game changer will be SHIF. And there are many people who every function they go to, they criticize SHIF. And they call it Sha, Shi, Shaw. They don't even know what they are talking about.
But Kevin, are you not concerned that the CS responsible for healthcare Dr. Deborah Baraza, as challenges explaining to Kenyans what the healthcare reform is all about?
If a good explanation of what shift has reached me, my assumption is in that docket sits somebody who can disseminate such information so as to reach me so that I can spread it back to my people at home and tell them, make sure you enroll for shift so that when you have an issue with your health, you will be sorted. Because this is the first time that primary health care is given enough attention, just like chronic diseases, just like critical and chronic ailments. In this, you will be taken care of right from prevention of diseases to curing of chronic diseases by this. And nobody has understood this, but they are making noise because they think the work of the opposition is to criticize.
But is there not a challenge that probably the government is engaging in policy dissemination instead of policy communication? In policy communication, you carry along the stakeholders. But for dissemination, it's like for your information.
I think one of the problems we have, which we will going to solve, because the president has set out to solve every shortcomings that we have, including those ones that he inherited. One thing I had said here before, we need a directorate of civic education. Civic education is very different from spokesman of the government or communication. Because civic education is teaching people, explaining to people why the government is doing some things and what the people stands to benefit from it, and explaining where people may not understand. Communication is simply disseminating information. Let the people know what is happening, whether they understand it or not. Government spokesman will tell the people what the government is doing. But civic education will be done very easily because the government has officials in every corner of this country. All they need to do is be given lesson notes. They need to be given lesson plan. This is what you are going to tell the people in each of those holidays, in each of those barazas, in each of those gatherings. And sometimes you may have to call a baraza with the DCC or ACC sitting, and the people get the information. And when they go home, they spread to those who do not attend. Now, that would be a good thing.
A member of the audience has accused you. He has actually said that you are tribal because you referred to all other regional kingpins as tribal, save for Raila Odinga. That is the first one. Then the second one says that in fact it's President Ruto who sponsored Gachagua's impeachment, that one of the senators admitted in public.
He did not admit. He claimed. Let us not be mischievous. Yes. When a senator goes to claim in public because he wants to besmirch the president, he will go and say that he did not admit. He claimed. What sponsorship does the President William Ruto need to do? When the parliament has a budget, Senate has a budget, the judiciary has a budget to do what they needed to do to perform their role of an impeachment motion brought before them. The impeachment motion brought before parliament did not need financing by President William Ruto. It did not need prodding by President William Ruto. It did not need President William Ruto to introduce it. I know the people may be encouraged when they see they are trying to do something like that and the president is silent. It is good to be silent and not to be partisan in such serious issues. So when somebody says President William Ruto sponsored, what kind of sponsorship was this?
What of those statements made by Deputy Speaker Sholei that she was given an assignment and she delivered?
If Sholei was given an assignment by her colleagues, there's nothing wrong with that. There are people there who are given assignments in that assembly. They are chairmen of committees. They are leaders of majorities and minorities. They are movers of motions. All those are responsibilities given to such people by their colleagues in those assemblies. And that is what happened to Sholei.
Yeah, and the last question about you being tribal, because you've branded everybody else tribal apart from
I have not,
Mr. Raila Odinga.
I have not done so. I have said I have referred to Raila Odinga as a kingpin, Uhuru Kenyatta as one. I think President William Ruto, for the time he's president, he's also a kingpin of his people. And Kiraitu Murungi is struggling to be the kingpin of Meru. And Rigathi Gachagua is struggling to wrest kingpinship from Uhuru Kenyatta. But he's in for a long thing. I only said, I have never heard Raila Odinga talk in public saying, we the Luo, you as our Luo people. Like I heard Kiraitu Murungi say yesterday. I have never even heard Raila Odinga complain that the Luos have been sidelined, the Luos have been shortchanged. I have never heard it. Even Uhuru Kenyatta, I have never heard him say the Kikuyu have been sidelined, shortchanged. The only person, even the Brazen Grigathi that I say would brazenly say anything I would be too embarrassed to say, he will at least hide behind a blade of grass called Watu wa Murema. He will hide behind the leaves of groundnuts. He's talking about what to a region they don't like betrayal and such like things. But we can see what he's talking about. So I think that person is accusing me for nothing. In any case, I have never been a Raila Odinga apologist in the last 2, 3, 4 years.
As we close the conversation, what is this history between you and Raila Odinga? Or it's not meant for public consumption?
No, me, there's nothing that is hidden. My things are always on the table. My history with Raila Odinga, you also know that my relatives have been in Kanu for a long time. The first closest relative of mine to be in politics is Dalmas Otieno, and he's been in Kanu. So we were like, we were born in the political world and found we were in favor of Kanu. Nevertheless, when we believed that politics is regional, politics is homemade, we decided to be in the parties of our region. And one of the reasons, I have never believed in the way the Raila Odinga parties are run. But I think politics is local. So let's join him and move together. Let's give him the support. We move together. When you have a leader, even when you don't agree with the way he's doing things, you must support him to achieve. Because sometimes it's only simply using maybe the wrong road, but where you want to reach, support him in that wrong road of his to reach the destination. He may have found a kichaka, he may have found a footpath. If he's your person, support him through that footpath to reach the destination. I decided to support Raila Odinga to reach his destination. But deep inside his head, he had believed that somebody like me should not be allowed to thrive in his own political party. If there is somebody Raila Odinga would call in the middle of the night and say, tomorrow, go to Ramogi Radio and tell the Luo ABCD, it was me. But when it became Mugukumi Nambili, things changed. Because Raila Odinga, even if he doesn't want you, he will not let you know. He will not tell you. But in the end, his actions will tell you. Nevertheless, here I am.
Kevin, thanks for your time. That has been Fireside, the home of politics, policy and politics. See you next year. Asante sana.
Thank you, my brother.